Hi guys, Brain here, and welcome to another commentary video. And today, I want to tell you that you should not be afraid to play a low tier, because right now is the best time that it has ever been in DBD's history to be playing a low tier character. And I'm going to break down why. The first thing and the most obvious thing being that the killer buffs made through the mid chapter make it the easiest time ever to play low tier characters. Usually, low tier characters are M1 gamers. Characters that mostly rely on M1, they don't have any way to really circumvent palettes, and most of the time don't even have good map traversal. So they kind of suffer for the fact that most gamers in the 2022 landscape of the killer landscape, that most killers have some sort of palette circumventing tool or high movement option that makes them really, really strong. A lot of the lower tier killers don't have either of those things, which makes them really challenging to play. But now every killer in a sense kind of has a little bit of anti-palette and a little bit of movement, because the stabiffle, the baked-in stabiffle, the 2 stacks of stabiffle default, and the lowered speed increase after you hit someone makes it to where survivors realistically aren't going to be able to traverse the map as quickly while in chase with you, which means that in a sense you have slightly better movement than you did before. Also, the kicking action by default has been increased in speed, so if you're kicking something to get a pallet out of the way, that is inherently quicker too, so you have just a little smidge, just a little bit of anti-pallet, just a tiny bit, just enough to kind of really matter, built into your base kit automatically. So now you have a little bit, just a little bit of what makes these more higher tier killers good in every single killer in the game. It's a little bit less painful to play those lower tier characters that don't have those powerful traits, because they have a little bit of the powerful traits now just baked in naturally. This next one's a little bit more of an emotional appeal to your ego. I'm going to appeal to your ego here when I talk about this one. When I go out into the DBD content field, when I'm looking at either Twitch, YouTube, whatever, and I see like a really, really good nurse or a really, really good blight, for the most part, I really don't care. And I'm being honest, like for the most part, I really, really don't care if I see a really good nurse or a really good blight. I'm just like, oh, okay, well, cool. Because they're already the tippity-toppitest of the tier list. They're already dominating the game at such a high level that even if you're good at the character, it doesn't really shine through that much, because even somebody who's just average at nurse or blight is by and large going to get the results that they desire, getting those 4Ks, getting those Ws. So when I see somebody who's good at those characters, they're like a dime a dozen. How many nurses do you run into all the time? How many blights do you run into all the time? We looked at the Nightlight video just yesterday and saw that blight is the 3rd most played character in the game right now. 3rd most played character in the game right now. There are blights everywhere. There is nothing special about you if you are a good blight, because there are so many of them. There's an ocean of blights. So they're a dime a dozen. Good blights are everywhere. It's not special anymore. But you know what I never see? Good Myers, good clowns, and they do exist. There are people who literally specialize in those characters. My character's not as bad as people think they are. My character's actually really, really underrated in terms of their strength. And those people specialize in those characters. When I see somebody like going hard and pulling off these really weird techs with somebody like Clown as opposed to like Blight, I'm a lot more impressed than somebody who does like a hug tech with Blight. And I'm just like, okay, well, that's what they do, right? And everybody who plays Blight goes hard. So like, of course you do. But if I see a Clown like barely clutch an attack by putting the yellow gas at the exact right spot and then the purple gas at the exact right spot, I'm like, oh, that was kind of hard to do. Good job. Like, I feel like I respect that person more than somebody who is just kind of like lost in the sea of most commonly played sweat characters. Because their character, for the most part, is going to be, whether they admit it or not, doing a lot of the work just naturally, just because their base kit is so powerful. Whereas someone who has a weak base kit and is still getting really consistent, really awesome results using some really weird techs, I'm going to be a lot more wowed by that person than the person that's just kind of playing, you know, the go-to super strong characters, if that makes sense. I think the final part about playing low tiers that makes them really special is that there's a bigger sense of community in the DBD community around playing these characters, because blights are a dime a dozen, nurses are a dime a dozen, but how many pig mains do you know? How many pig mains do you know? There's not a whole lot of people maining pig out there. But like when you meet another pig main in a chat somewhere, you're like, oh, that's my boy, that's my character. You get really, really excited because, you know, not as many people play the weaker characters in the game. So there's a stronger sense of community among somebody who mains like Ghostface, for example, because people don't play them very often. So those people are a lot more like welcoming, and I feel like the experience is so much more like happy and exciting when you meet somebody else out there in the community that also plays your character. As I swallow here and die. I feel like that experience is a lot more positive than if you meet somebody who's like a dime a dozen, everybody plays this character sort of Andy. So I feel like that's just better. Yeah, if you're out there and you're a little bit hesitant to play low tier killers, I don't think there's a better time in DBD's history than right now to be able to play a low tier killer. I would just go for it. Are you afraid of playing low tier killers, or do you only play killers that are able to get more consistent results based on their base kit? Let me know down in the comments below. But that's gonna be it for today's video, friends. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in tomorrow's video, but if I do not, I will see you when I see you. Bye.